Moving forward with this repair project, I'm going to show you the steps that I took to repair this RTS intercom system. This is actually one that I haven't repaired yet, and you'll be able to see the inside of the unit that I am currently repairing. And I just wanted to show you the steps that I took in order to take it apart and in order to get to the components that you need to change out. So if we look here, the way that you would actually take it apart is actually quite simple. And I'll show you how easy it is to put it back together. Oops. So if we take these pieces here, normally it would sit together like this. Okay, 4 screws on the top, 4 screws on the bottom. Okay, and so you take the bottom plate off and you take it and you turn it in, and you get the wires in such a way that they actually slide through the body of the case. Okay, so that comes out like that. So then you're left with the circuit board and the connectors on the front and back. Now originally it has this variable resistor or potentiometer right here that controls the volume. That's the part that goes faulty over time. It starts getting really scratchy. So what I ended up having to do was take out these 2 screws here for this 4-pin XLR, and then there are 2 locking nuts here for the mic on and the channel select, and then there's also a nut that would be on the variable resistor here. Okay, so what you would do is you take all 3 of those out, and then what would happen is you turn them all to the right position, and if you do it, if you wiggle the front plate with a little bit of finesse with all those screws out, it'll actually come out like this. And then you can rotate, so you don't necessarily have to desolder the XLR for the headset, which I didn't want to have to do because there was a lot of shrink wrap in here, and I'm assuming there are different suppression beads in here that I didn't want to have to deal with. I didn't want to have to heat shrink anything or move anything and get everything lined up. I thought it would just be kind of a pain. And if you can see that in there. So essentially what I did is, this is where the original variable resistor sat. Okay. So what I ended up having to do was, having it sitting here, I had to get a very fine soldering tip in there, and solder wick didn't really want to take away too much of the solder. It did help a little bit. You can't, because you have this switch in the way, you can't get a solder sucker in there, which was kind of a shame. But if you get a fine soldering tip in there, you can kind of wiggle this and finesse it out. So once you remove that, then what you would get into is you need to get a replacement. The replacement that I chose are these guys right here. Now the layout is a little bit different. The reason I went with these was they're inexpensive. They're probably less than, I think, $1 a piece. However, the pin arrangement is different from what this guy was. Here with the newer one, everything is in line. Okay, and then with the original style, everything was offset. So there was 2 pins here and then 1 towards the back. So that posed a little bit of a challenge, simply because you can't directly solder it into the original PCB here. So what I ended up doing is, let's see if I can get this back in. There we go. You can't really have the leads coming off of the variable resistor straight down, because they would be in the way of the board. And I didn't know if the wall would be a problem if this unit were to shift around or anything like that. If the leads here would actually, even if I bent them out of the way, if they could accidentally short out onto the wall of the housing. So you can see here, having it in line there, you know, it might have been a problem. So what I ended up opting for was I bent the leads in and I let it rest against this this push to talk button here. Now I don't love it. Unfortunately, if you push down, you might get a little bit of flex on the variable resistor here. However, I don't think it's too much of an issue. If these leads bend a little bit more, I think it'll be okay. And then the other thing is if you look here on where the lead for the wiper inside the potentiometer here, it looks like it could potentially touch right there. I do need to take a meter and check and see if there's any continuity between here and there, just to make sure that nothing shorts out. But if this housing of this pot here is floating, then it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But yeah, so, and sorry if I'm using variable resistor, potentiometer, and pot interchangeably. Sometimes one is easier to say than the other. The biggest problem that I had with this repair was that I actually had to cut out the front plate here, and you can see that I made a couple different attempts, and that was simply because I didn't know what orientation I wanted this to be in, because there's actually a little index right here that stops the pot from turning so once you put the locking nut on there and you tighten it down, you don't want it to be spinning in the housing like this. It can damage things, it can short things out, and that sort of thing. So unlike the other one that came with it originally, it did not have an index. It just relied on the PCB to actually hold it in place, which didn't seem like it was any type of issue with breaking the PCB. However, for this instance, I needed to notch out, and what I ended up doing was I took a file and I carved out a notch here, and so you can see where I indexed it, and 3 different attempts to figure out where the best position would be simply from where the arrangement of the pins here. And that was the biggest problem that I had with this, is just having to carve this thing out 3 times. I do have 8 packs that I do need to repair. However, this is just showing what was the best for me. These can be purchased off of Amazon for, I think you can get like a pack of 30 for 20 bucks or something like that. And then what's nice is they even come with the little plastic knob that even has the color coding here to show you where you are relative to the control. Not that it really matters. Most of the time these things are going to be used in dark settings, and it's all going to be done by feel anyway. But yeah, so that's essentially the processes, however you want to pronounce it, that I took to essentially repair this. I have hooked it up. It doesn't do any scratching or any noise when you do the volume control. You can hear that in the other video I made, essentially introing this. If you'd like, if anybody wants to make a comment and say that they'd like to see the full video of me repairing another one, I do have quite a few of these to repair. I just wanted to give you guys a short video of the steps that I took and how you can take these units apart. And it is fairly simple, and it, realistically, if you think about it, it's only maybe a dollar, not even $1 repair if you buy these things in bulk. And the wire that I use is just Cat 5 cable. I buy it in bulk for the work that I do, but you can just, if you want to just butcher up some old Ethernet cables like that come with wireless routers and stuff like that, it's a really good source of small cabling for these types of repairs. So yeah, if you guys thought this was useful or helpful or even entertaining, give me a thumbs up or give me a comment. Tell me any of your input, or even comment and say that you actually used this and this helped you with one of your repairs. So I'll see you guys on the next one.